idea for the bridge funding is simply to take over July 1st. The idea for the bridge funding is simply to take over and to go until the assessment begins again when the voters get an RTA next package that they then approve. So it would never like double it or increase it or do anything other than maintain what is in place right now. And depending on which scenario PAG RTA decides to move forward with. So just to clarify that.
Thank you. Anything else, Supervisor Allen? All right, Supervisor Christie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Ortega, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Ideally, in order for this whole process to proceed as planned, there needs to be a plan given to this board by a certain date for the original structure of dates to go into effect. I believe that date to have a plan here is somewhere around August 31st or 30th. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christie, the date that's currently scheduled, the last possible date would be September 2nd.
September 2nd.
Yes, sir.
Coming up.
Yes, sir.
And I have it on good authority that it has been the directive of staff in RTA to proceed with that plan, and that there is every indication on their part that there will be a plan presented here by that date. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christie, the policy direction from the RTA board at this point is for that election to occur.
So that plan is going forward with the staff.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christie, yes, sir, that is the current direction.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chair, I think I can speak with some history and authority on the RTA, serving on the original Citizens Advisory Committee back in 2005 and 6. Having served as the former chair of the RTA, it's a system very near and dear to my heart. And I fully believe in regional transportation collaboration. And I have worked diligently in those capacities as well as since then to ensure that we continue a collaborative effort in our region to provide an infrastructure and transportation system. When we have at this particular point, really the only viable issue, I think, out of the ones presented here to discuss is the bridge tax to cover that area. What is it, 9 months where there potentially will be no income tax. In order to enact that, it would, and I'm a little hazy on the statute, so forgive me, and we can provide them later. But I believe in Arizona Title 11 and something with statute 42-6103, and we can verify those. It gives a very flimsy description of how a county can impose a sales tax. Flimsy in terms of very open-ended, lack of guardrails, lack of safety, lack of any accountability. And basically what it entails is a unanimous vote by this board. It does not require any sunset. It does not require any set in stone recommendations as far as priorities. In fact, at any point after it is agreed to by this board to insert or enact that sales tax, priorities, directions, amounts brought in, a whole host of things can be changed at any time after that merely by a board's majority vote, not a unanimous vote. So one of the founding things that was so attractive to the community back in 2006 with the RTA was there were very stringent guardrails put into effect, particularly the fact that there were going to be members of the RTA that were represented by all the jurisdictions, one vote, one jurisdiction. that the Auditor General was going to do a complete audit of the funds and the projects every 5 years, that there is a Citizens Oversight Committee that would provide and has provided an annual report to the public for the accountability of the projects being completed. And most importantly, the fundamental issue is that once the public, the voters, voted and approved on the original RTA plan, it could not be changed. And the reason for that was a complete lack of trust by the public in elected officials in delivering any type of projects like this, because the public had been burned in the past with past issues about promises made about certain projects that never got completed or were changed or transferred. The RTA ensured that that would never happen. And to the best of my ability and knowledge, fundamentally, that hasn't happened. However, if we vote to impose a sales tax for transportation, there's nothing that says that this board at any time by a mere majority could change the direction of the plan, the amount collected, and where that amount goes to. And I can tell you right now that that issue is the most troubling to me. This board's majority, along with their collaborators and partners in the city of Tucson, cannot be trusted with a revenue stream in the amount of a half-cent or full-cent sales tax over the next how many years, with no guarantees of a sunset, no guarantees that the priorities could be changed, and no guarantees that things could be manipulated that in such a manner that 3 years from now, 4 years from now, this board's majority or the next one, who is probably going to be comprised in a mirror-like image of this one, can say, you know, we don't need infrastructure or transportation as much as we thought. Let's redirect this sales tax that we've enacted to some other pet project like public housing or climate resiliency or climate
Point of order.
change.
Supervisor Kano.
Thank you, Chair Scott. I want to stay focused on the substance of this item, which is focused on transportation.
I'm using that as an example, Mr. Chair. So the issue that I have is there are no guardrails with this bridge tax. There are no backstops to prevent this board's majority or another board's majority coming up in the future, or a collaboration of the city council to prevent misuse of those funds and divert them away from transportation issues. So Supervisor Hines, I'm afraid you can return to the RTA board and say that as far as a countywide sales tax being imposed on this board, I will never vote for it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Christie. If none of my colleagues have any further questions or comments, I had some clarification questions I wanted to ask. But Supervisor Kano, did you have something else?
Yes, I do. Chair
Please,
Scott, thank you.
go right ahead.
You know, look, I want to tone down the temperature a bit, because this is a very important regional issue. And I take great offense at any suggestion that this board, whether it's a board majority or any one individual board member, would be trying to mislead the public with our commitment to a long-term plan for our region. We are here to have a discussion about how we're going to move our region forward. And it is perplexing to me to try to understand the criticisms that we just received from one of our colleagues, when what is fact is that voters in the city of Tucson have not received the assurances from the plan that they voted on 20 years ago. If there are unfunded projects that have yet to be completed, I think it's a worthwhile discussion for us to figure out how we are going to ensure that those projects get priority. I've heard that from Mr. Ortega, that what we have to do sitting on this dais and as regional leaders is also celebrate the successes and the wins of this plan. And I truly believe that if we continue working together on a solution, whether that's March, whether that's May, whether that's November, we are headed in that same direction. But I take great offense at personal attacks directed at this board, which is what I believe we just heard.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Hines.
Just to clarify some of these things, these questions in terms of guardrails have come up in discussion with members of the PAG RTA board. And in my discussions with Administrator Lesher, this is important to ensure that we are doing, this is not a replacement for RTA. This is a bridge funding to get to the next one. And this is not something where we're going to have this entity, our board here, doing the day-to-day management of projects and completing things. And that's not what we're discussing in any way, shape, or form. It is simply to continue the same revenue funding stream that the current TPT is bringing in. It can be drafted that way in the ordinance that we would be considering to vote on unanimously if we wanted to. It would be, again, funds going to PAG RTA to do what they are continuing to do, not for us to manage ourselves here, and also to make sure that that those funds can only be used for the purposes of furthering the purpose of completion of the RTA 1 project. All of that can be written into the ordinance that we would be considering, which I think takes care of a lot of the concerns that, frankly, I myself even shared in some cases. So Supervisor Christie, I think that, those questions are important, but can be answered.
Thank you, Supervisor Hines. Supervisor Allen.
I just want to add in the importance, and this is something that I think District 4 and District 3 that we share, and which is the absolute essentialness of RTA's success, and that we have rural communities whose main sort of connection to doctor visits, to getting meetings with Social Security, getting to important critical appointments is transportation that is provided through the RTA. This funding is essential for making sure that seniors, for people with disabilities, for young people, for all of our residents who live in rural areas to get the connections that are needed. So I think it is on us to be creative, to be bold, and to also to trust that it is our responsibility, right, to come up with those solutions. So it just, I think for the purposes of our rural communities and all of our districts overall, but this is essential. We have to figure this out or our folks are isolated. And that is simply a risk that I don't think any of us should, knowingly take on. So I just wanted to layer that on.
Thank you, Supervisor Allen. Anything else from my colleagues? Mr. Ortega, I did have some clarification questions if I could ask you to come back up. With regard to the documents that have been attached to this item, the document that says RTA parentheses current financial overview 2007 to 2029. I was the board's representative to the RTA board before Supervisor Hines was in that role for 4 years. I have never seen a document like this before. Has this document been presented to the entire RTA board, and is it something that is going to be shared with the public in some kind of explanatory way?
Mr. Chairman, yes, it has been shared both with the Technical Management Committee and the RTA board. It is posted online as part of the materials for the RTA board meeting, so it's available. Please note it does say draft on it because we're really trying hard to scrub all aspects of it. I don't want there to be any question on any aspect of it, but I'm very confident with this after sitting for hours and hours really pouring through both on the revenue and the expenditure side.
I just think that it's going to be very important in terms of public education, regardless of what happens next, to walk people through this document, because the forecast, those first three columns, forecast, actuals, and then expenditures have never been seen together. And I think that's going to land pretty hard with the community. So I wanted to ask that and prevail upon my colleague and the other 8 members of the RTA board to walk the public through that, regardless of what's going to happen next. Then I also just wanted to ask again for clarification with regard to the item that has number 3 on top of it, the RTA projected resources and expenditures through fiscal year 2036. That's going to be your recommendation and the TMC's recommendation, but that's not yet been approved by the RTA board?
Mr. Chairman, this is not my recommendation yet. This
Okay.
is information on how to accomplish and deliver RTA 1. So what I was asked to do is really look at RTA 1 as it feeds into RTA Next. And so the first order of business was to get that foundational understanding of RTA 1. And
Okay.
that's what this does, is gives a path for accomplishing RTA 1.
Then, Ms. Lesher, will the substance of this document be a recommendation to the RTA board from the TMC?
Chair Scott, I don't know. We're using
Okay.
that as the foundational piece to develop the
I
recommendations.
got you.
The TMC has given to the RTA a plan. We are in the process of reevaluating that if need be. Mr. Ortega has reached out to all of the jurisdictions involved and at the Tribe of the Nation and asked for tweaks. See how if anybody has to look at what we have proposed over the last several years that then went to the board and out for public comment to see if there's any modification, scope changes, what we can do with that. And I believe we'll be looking at that tomorrow. We are meeting tomorrow.
Mr. Chair, just to, because I've heard that a couple times now, just to let you know, at the last board meeting, I asked the board members to respond by giving me tweaks. And I use that term very, very deliberately because they're not wholesale changes, but tweaks to the existing plan that they've been considering over the last several years by today at noon. So hopefully here pretty quick, everybody's got their minor changes. Then tomorrow morning, the technical management committee will actually dissect those and start to develop a recommendation back to the RTA board for the 31st. So that's the process to go through.
Thank you. And then 2 other clarification questions. The item that has number 5 in the upper right-hand corner, this has to do with transit, and you're still putting together a recommendation to the RTA board on how to deal with transit expenses. That's in process.
Mr. Chairman, yes, beyond June 30 of
Got it.
26.
Okay.
And that has not been decided or even recommended yet. We just have identified the challenge. And so I'm looking for the solutions.
Okay. And then the last clarification question, if I could, is Supervisor Hines gave us this page from the RTA board agenda with 3 scenarios. My understanding, based on something you said earlier, is that your recommendation is going to be the second scenario, which is a new 20-year plan goes to the voters in November. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, no. That is not, in that I have not made a determination on a recommendation. The request was to provide information on all 3 of those.
I'm sorry, I thought you had said earlier that November seemed more palatable.
Great question. So on item 2, which is an election in 26,
Okay.
there's 2 options. There's
Gotcha.
May and November. I will recommend that we look at November, not May, under that scenario.
Thank you for clarifying that. No, I appreciate it. All right. And then in terms of my own comments, one of the concerns that I've always had and is the message that we send, not just to the community, if there's a gap in collection of this tax, but also what it might mean for our prospects for economic development. If it looks to site selectors, prospective employers that we can't come together as a region on infrastructure issues, that is a significant concern. So I would be interested in hearing from Supervisor Hines what more work is going to be accomplished at the RTA board level. But I think it's very important that Pima County, all of its jurisdictions, come together with regard to the importance of assuring that this means for moving our infrastructure forward does not have any kind of lapse. If it does, as General Maxwell was fond of saying when I was a member of the RTA board, and I'm sure he's still fond of saying as our representative of the State Transportation Board, there isn't any additional state or federal money coming into this region for anything other than maintenance. You've probably heard that a few times from him, huh? So I'm just going to say to be continued. Because it sounds like the TMC has a lot more discussion to have. The RTA board has a lot more discussion to have. I'm very grateful to Ms. Lesher and Mr. DeBonis for devoting their Wednesdays. She looks really excited about it for the next the rest of time. I'm also, again, to finish where we started, Mr. Ortega, very grateful to you for coming out of retirement to help our community deal with this. And Supervisor Hines, thank you for giving us the opportunity to discuss this. Did you have any closing comments before we moved on?
No, I appreciate the discussion, and yeah, I think to be continued is accurate. We will pick one of these scenarios on July 31st, and there's a very real possibility it will not be a March election, and we'll be talking more with the board. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ortega, thank you so much. We had a time certain item for 11, but I don't see Mr. Perez here. He is here. Oh, there he is. All right. No. We were going to move to our time certain item for 11, but I didn't see you. And then Mr. Vescovi-Chiordi pointed at the door, and there you were. All right. So, and I'm going to apologize to the 5 folks who are here for call to the public because of some time certain items. We have been delayed in that. I apologize. We will come to that as soon as we do this time certain item. Also want to say to Mr. Snell and Mr. McCusker that after we do the time certain item for the MEC, our 5 call to the public speakers, then we're going to take up the unfinished business with regard to the recommendation for the contract with the Chamber of Southern Arizona. All right. So let's go then to our time certain item for 11 o'clock. This is number 5 on the addendum. It is Metropolitan Education Commission Amendment number 3 to provide for the A1 Metropolitan Education Commission and A2 Regional College Access Center extend contract term to June 30 of 2026, amend contractual language and scope of work, contract amount $122,000. I'll move the item.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Supervisor Allen. Ms. Lesher, any comments from you or Mr. Vescovi-Chiordi?
No, sir, but we're here, happy to answer any questions if you have.
Okay. Mr. Perez, any, and I apologize, I shouldn't say Mr. Perez, Council Member Perez, not only the Executive Director for the Metropolitan Education Commission, but our Ward 5 City of Tucson Council Member. Any comments that you wanted to make about the item, sir? And thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it was just a quick clarification. Currently not serving as executive director, but as the city liaison.
Shadow executive.
Sure. All that being said, thanks friends for having me. I think the only thing that I would add is that, I think with the shift in the executive director role has created a lot of additional capacity for MEC and a lot of its programs. And so, as you know, throughout the last year, there was a significant level of engagement with MEC and our officials. Primarily with the chair, then it was Chair Grajova. This year, Chair Scott, you'll see a lot more activity with yourself as well as with Chair Allen. You've already seen a number of invites for a teen town hall, 20 under 20, the evening to empower ed. There's a lot of exciting things on the horizon. The only thing that I'll add, and I think it's an important note to make, is that in the next couple of months, as has kind of already been discussed with both Administrator Lesher and Chair Scott, is that the MEC will be making a proposal to amend its composition, as had been discussed in the last amendment last year, which will also include a name change and a set of proposed imperatives that really focus on democratizing access to learning and service. And so you'll see a big undertaking that really centers the programs around civic empowerment as well as academic empowerment. And this is inclusive with collaborations with the Arizona Board of Regents, with our folks in the civic space in Phoenix and in Northern Arizona. And this will all hopefully be in collaboration with Santa Cruz County and the city of Nogales. So just kind of wanted to put that on your radar. But that being said, that won't necessarily change the programs, but really I think focusing the name, the brand, and realistically the aspirations and the needs of the organization. So yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Perez.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions from colleagues? Supervisor Christie.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, do we know how much the city of Tucson contributes money-wise annually to the MEC?
Yeah, so historically, there's always been a non-competitive allocation of 19,750, I believe. That has not fluctuated at all within the past decade or so. What has fluctuated is the allocation that was historically done through, say, a department level, similar to how Pima County does so with the Economic Development Office. I, within my ward office, am making up for a bit of a difference in what has historically been the lacking investment on the city side. What we're continuing, and now I think with an added proponent of me being a part of that body, advocating for a more consistent connection to both the department, the same way we have with economic development, as well as a sustained investment.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, say that amount again. That's
That was 19,750.
19,750.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor. Any other questions or comments from board members?
I think just piggybacking off of Supervisor Christie's comment on funding, I know that there's historically been a lot of asks as to what's the county share, what the city's share. I find that a lot of our service, particularly going into this next year, is actually reaching beyond city limits more than ever, primarily within Vail and Marana. Now that our respective programs are in collaboration with the Arizona Board of Regents, you'll see us more heavily within Marana, Catalina Foothills area, and Vail. And so just kind of wanted to make that note. And then I think also what's different in what might have been a point of contention last year around this time was that there wasn't a lot of diversity in the fundraising efforts. There is a significant change in that. And I think in coming into this year, we're actually getting funding, more funding from outside sources beyond the city and county than the total of both investments. And so there is a diversity in that investment now.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Any other questions or comments from board members?
Supervisors, Scott.
Mr. Brown, please.
Though not required legally, because this vote is happening before a call to the public, perhaps we see if anyone came to speak on this issue before the vote.
Oh, all right.
Probably not, but.
I do not see anything listed on the cards, Mr. Brown, but thank you very much. I appreciate that. I had a request, Ms. Lesher. There is reference in the background for the item under reports. Agency will complete quarterly and annual reports. If the board could get copies of those quarterly reports. And then I'm going to be especially interested, not just as a member of this board, but as this board's liaison with the MEC with Goal 3. The agency will drive a 25% year-over-year increase in FAFSA submissions. That's exciting to read, and we'll definitely want to hear about the progress of that goal.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Any other comments or discussion? All those in favor of adopting the item indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie opposed. Thank you, Councilmember Perez. I'd invite you to stay for our whole meeting, but we don't stay for your meetings, so. Thank you. All right, now we are going to go to call to the public. And again, my apologies to the 5 people who submitted cards. I'm going to go ahead and read the rules and regulations for call to the public. Citizens attending the meeting shall observe rules of propriety, decorum, and good conduct. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or who becomes boisterous while addressing the board may be removed by the sergeant at arms if directed by the chair. Such person may be barred from further audience before the board. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistling, yells, and similar demonstrations shall not be permitted by the chair, who may direct offenders from the hearing room. Because we have 5 speakers, I'm going to read the cards in the order that they were given to me. Each person will have 3 minutes. Our first speaker is JP Sabatiera. Second speaker, Roland Baker. Third speaker, Christina M. I'm not sure what your last name is, but you can tell us when you come up. Fourth speaker, John D. Again, tell us your last name when you come up. And then fifth speaker, Dr. Denise Bowles. Okay, Mr. Salvatierra.
Chair Scott, I'd like to ask for your condolence and possibly extending the length of time for each of the 5 speakers when we normally create a time frame of 30 to 40 minutes for this function, call the audience. Is that amenable to everyone?
No, sir.
Up to 5 minutes, not the whole.
We give 3 minutes per speaker.
Okay.
That's the rules for the board.
That's a clarification. Thank you, sir. Chairman Scott, esteemed board members, Deputy Attorney Brown, and I would like to start out by saying that I was really shocked when I watched the Project Blue activity, and I did more and more research to try to find out, are we putting the cart before the horse, having the board agree to something before anything else has further gone on. And, in real estate, you don't need this non-disclosure agreement. You can use a straw party to create a conditional purchase of a property. And then, upon getting the approval of the specific guidelines for the rezoning, it can be accomplished. But this proprietary things that we're supposed to be engaging and consolidating and keeping secret, no, that's putting this board into a situation of malfeasance and collusion, with a situation that full public disclosure needs to be the tantamount directive that we all expect. And in that regard, I brought this, it's a bromeliad. It's a perennial. It's a little rough. It's actually kind of like the citizens here in Tucson. It's got some harsh leaves. It needs water. It's got a beautiful color. It's got such great hope. Okay. I didn't express comments to the initial statement that I made before the call the audience last meeting, but I was so impressed with Supervisor Allen's comments, her research, the integrity of the effort she made to find true answers, and one that we didn't find out.
Your time's expired, sir.
This is for you.
If you could leave it with staff from the clerk's office. Thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Baker.
Hello, everyone again. Hello, Supervisor Scott, Allen, Supervisor Matt, Hines, Supervisor Christie, and Supervisor Andre Canos. I'm here for a very specific reason. As you all know and have seen on TV, in the newspaper, there are kidnappings that are happening right here in this city, and they're happening all across the United States. And they're happening by people called they're called ICE, and they wear masks, and we cannot allow that to continue. Before Donald Trump became the president of the United States, Sheriff Napier had a program where whenever the sheriffs were interacting with the Border Patrol, they would make phone calls, and they would have phone calls, and we would know how many times they interacted with Border Patrol. Our current sheriff has gotten rid of that program. We need to have that program brought back immediately. And the reason why is there's a brand new policy nationwide that has happened whereby now any person that has been picked up or is currently in detention can be in detention for up to 6 months to maybe years, because we don't know when they're going to let them out. We can't allow that to happen. We know about the concentration camps that are across this United States. We know what's going on in those concentration camps. We know that they have to be stopped. So the only way that we can take care of ourselves here in the city of Tucson and in the county is to have our sheriffs make sure that they are putting down what it is, how many times they are interacting with our Border Patrol, and we need to know when that is. The other thing I would like to say that across the nation, there have been sheriffs. There's 5 counties in California, 3 in Oregon, and 3 in New York that I know of for a fact that their sheriffs are coming to and making statements that they will not participate with ICE. They are here to help us. One of the ways that they help us, we have people who will not go to the hospitals right now. Here in the city of Tucson, we have pregnant women. We meet with them. We have those women who will not go because they're afraid that they're going to be picked up. We need to make, and this is where you all come in, a very harsh statement saying that you're here for them, because you are. Every one of you, all of you that have been voted in, you're here for our people, no matter whether they're documented or undocumented. You need to care for them, you need to take care of them, and you need to bring this policy back into the Sheriff's Department. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. And I'll call on Christina now. And Christina, if you could spell your last name for the clerk for our minutes, because it's not written on the card.
Sure. It's Mokhtarin.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Election Day to those who are in Congressional District 7 for the primary. I'm a local public school teacher, and I'm also a volunteer with many immigration advocacy organizations, including an interfaith committee of Coalición de Derechos Humanos. I'm so happy to be here when you honored an Amphi teacher. I'm a proud product of Amphi School District. Also, as a former employee of a faith-based social service organization that was on county property, so great to see Pima County facilities honored. They are out there truly in the middle of the night, on the weekends, unclogging drains, making sure the heat is on, making sure the AC is working. And then also the Mexican consulate has done just a tremendous service here to people in our community. And I know this I speak from personal experience. I'm here today to talk, I know Supervisor Christie had some concerns about when the community feels elected officials or civil servants are not being responsive to the community. I'm here not for local officials and civil servants, but federal. We remain concerned, especially with the passage of the big wasteful spending bill that will allocate billions to ICE, about the extrajudicial kidnappings by masked, armed, unidentified immigration enforcement that we were told that happened in Los Angeles. Since the last time I spoke, at the last meeting, a federal district court in Los Angeles has ruled, Judge Frimpong ruled that using race, ethnicity, language, accent, location, or employment as a pretext for immigration enforcement is forbidden by the Fourth Amendment, which protects against unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. With so much money flowing in for immigration enforcement, we all have to be, we in the community are ready to speak out should this begin to take place. And we'd like for you all to be prepared to make statements. We would like to have local law enforcement report when they have to call immigration officials, and we wanted to find again what the rules of engagement are between the different levels of government. As the granddaughter and great-granddaughter of people who were Japanese Americans who were incarcerated during World War II, we need to remember that we have to have due process for everyone. And it was great to see us honoring Pima County Sheriff's volunteers who help people up the Mount Lemmon Road. We have to remember the recreation area is named after someone who was a chain gang member who helped build that highway, Gordon Hirabayashi, who was in the Supreme Court justified his incarceration. It was later set aside under coram nobis. In our country, even elected officials can be wrong. Even the president, Republican or
Thank you, ma'am.
or Democrat, even the Supreme Court. Thank you.
Thank you. And John D., you're our next speaker. And if you could, as our previous speaker did, spell your last name for the clerk for our minutes.
Sure thing. It's Doherty. Good morning, everyone. My name is John Doherty. I represent a subset of the veteran community whose loyalty to the Constitution is paramount. I'm here on behalf of the immigrant community because lately they have been demonized in the media. We've seen this kind of rhetoric before throughout history. And let's not pretend that this kind of hateful rhetoric like we're hearing right now leads to anything we can be proud of as a country or a people, especially a country that purports to uphold the rule of law. Recently, I heard about an Afghani interpreter. By the way, I was in Afghanistan. I had an interpreter in my platoon. A man who risked his very life assisting U.S. forces who was recently kidnapped by masked thugs that are ostensibly federal agents in San Diego, California. I'm not even sure what happened to my interpreter in my platoon because I was wounded in Afghanistan and pulled out before my full deployment even happened. One of his dreams was to get U.S. citizenship and move to Los Angeles. So I worry about him every single day. And what was this brave man's crime who got kidnapped in San Diego? Well, he had a skin color that's been deemed unacceptable or less than. Again, last time we've heard rhetoric like this, 6 million people were exterminated on the European continent. We are in dire straits right now, and I want everyone to understand the gravity of this moment. It is anti-American in the extreme to have a secret police, but perhaps even more anti-American to be assisting in kidnappings. So that's the crisis. What's the solution to this crisis? I'm looking for accountability with this body here to figure out where the local law enforcement officials are with this, with assisting ICE, because this is a grotesque violation of human rights, and it is everything, it is the antithesis of everything I fought for and stand for as a veteran. It is the most disgraceful thing I've ever seen, and we're going to be feeling shame for centuries to come for what's going on. The future is watching us right now, and are we going to do the right thing or continue to sink as a nation? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Dr. Bowles.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see everybody. Chair Scott, Vice Chair Allen, and member of the board. As the Pima County considers continued support for the Southern Arizona Chamber, we respectfully ask the board to also consider diversifying its investments to include other chambers that are actively supporting small businesses and contributing to the region's overall economic development and sustainability. The Greater Vale Area Chamber of Commerce serves the fastest growing Southeast region, including the census designated places of Vail, Rincon Valley, Corona de Tucson, and Summit, which together are home to more than 70,000 residents. This includes communities experiencing double-digit annual growth, representing one of the most rapidly expanding parts of the unincorporated Pima County. We respectfully request an $80,000 annual investment to support our four-part initiative focused on workforce development, small business retention, and regional marketing and operational infrastructure. $30,000 would be to expand our paid internship program, placing underserved high school and college students in professional roles with mentorships, training, and the necessary tools. $25,000 of that would go for bilingual marketing campaigns, business spotlights, and targeted outreach to promote economic programs and uplift small businesses. $15,000 of that would be to host business workshops, networking events, and regional data collection efforts that would drive local spending. And inform economic strategy. And then $10,000 of that would be for critical technology, website improvement, and systems that would build long-term capacity for growth and services. Small business retention and support is the foundation of our economy. Chambers are uniquely positioned to do this work efficiently, and as first responders to local business needs and advocates for thoughtful regional development, we champion businesses and infrastructures in a region that is rapidly expanding yet underserved in public investment. To ensure transparency and accountability, we're committed to submitting quarterly reports detailing measurable outcomes and how funds are tied to the goals of the Prosperity Initiative. We appreciate your leadership and respectfully request your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bowles.
Thank you.
Having no other speaker cards, I'm going to close call to the public. Ask my colleagues if they would like to ask staff for any additional information on an item presented, if they would like an item placed on a future agenda, or respond to a criticism. Supervisor Kano.
Thank you, Chair Scott. I would like the county administrator to come back in 45 days with a plan on our commitment to our regional chambers of commerce. Green Valley was mentioned. I also want to hear some more information about Vail and the Hispanic Chamber and any other entity that the county is not yet currently supporting so that we can have that conversation at a later time.
Thank you, Supervisor. Anything else from any of my colleagues? Supervisor Hines, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. I just, if we could direct staff to clarify the referenced policy under Sheriff Napier as regards federal interactions or immigration related interactions, and just get additional information to us about what I guess the current sheriff's administration does or doesn't do, and maybe why that change was made, and just with the understanding that obviously we can't direct the sheriff to do anything, including spend properly. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hines. And there were some requests, Ms. Lesher, that I made at the end of call to the public at our last meeting when we had one of our speakers from today and also Ms. Garcia and asked for some information, not just from administration and the sheriff, but I think also from the county attorney's office with regard to direction to departments that when they're encountering federal authorities. Thank you. Anything else? All right. So we're going to do this because we have another time certain item at noon. We're going to take up item number 21, which is unfinished business, dealing with the contract with the Chamber of Southern Arizona. Then, because we have our Director of Procurement here, Mr. Collins, we're going to also take up item number 6 on the addendum, which is a hearing dealing with a procurement appeal. And Mr. Collins will do that as soon as we're done with this next item. Okay. All right. So let's go to item number 21. This is unfinished business, Chamber of Southern Arizona. And I am going to move that we accept the county administrator's recommendation and approve the contract with the Chamber of Southern Arizona for the period of July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2026 in the amount of $550,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Supervisor Christie. Discussion. Supervisor Allen.
So I commented on this last time. I wanted to kind of resume my comments around the just some concerns about the contract, the amount of money that it represents, and so first, I think that the chamber has little reach across the rural communities and across the expanse of the county. The primary focus is around the Tucson metro area, leaving behind other chambers and some of the small businesses that comprise the rest of Pima County. The chamber is a membership-based organization that's accountable to that membership. And as we have seen in the past, that we have been at odds with one another on different initiatives where the chamber has come out against some of the efforts of local government. We can also have different goals, right? The board has goals that are reflected through the Prosperity Initiative, through Pima Prospers, through the development of a climate action plan that have to show up and weave into the decisions and the things that we support as a board, and understanding the complexity then of the decisions of our community that don't necessarily get reflected in decisions and efforts that are pursued by the chamber as relates to economic development opportunities. So for those reasons and others, I would like to make a substitute motion that reduces the amount of the contract to $300,000 and moving the difference of the $250,000 to our county's economic development department. And then also removing the words if releasable from sections 1.1, 1.2, and 3.2 of the reporting section. And this is within a section in which if the chamber is subject to non-disclosure agreements, that we would not receive information about the projects that are being pursued that would impact us.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Supervisor Cano. Discussion on the substitute motion.
Mr. Chair, this again is typical of this body, because no one is served in the capacity of a business ownership or put in private capital or private equity into a enterprise. So it's very difficult, I'm sure, for my colleagues to understand what businesses go through, and that's why it's so important that this board keep its hands out of the daily efforts of now the chamber. The important thing is to keep the structure alive and in place, and that it is a uniform body that speaks as a whole for the business community, one that has really been attacked and criticized time and time again by this board. And this board doesn't seem to realize that this is where our tax dollars are generated from that support the county's efforts. It is not the chamber's job to rubber stamp the decisions or the policies or the direction of the Board of Supervisors. That's why we need the Chamber of Commerce to keep it together, to have a formation where the business community can come together, can defend themselves, can speak up for themselves, and can put forward their points of view. They may conflict with the Board of Supervisors, but that's no guarantee that the chamber has to be a rubber stamp for anything that the Board of Supervisors enacts or pursues. The most important thing too, in addition to this, is by denigrating the amount of money that we're originally going to contribute with the administrator's recommendations to the chamber. If we deny that or mitigate it or cut it or slash it, it sends out yet another big billboard to the world that Pima County is not open for business. This board should be supportive of the chamber, its efforts, its decisions, and its membership. And I can tell you, as a former chair of the chamber and a longtime member of the chamber, there is no other vehicle in Pima County that stands up for them or speaks to them as the chamber does. And it's a direct slap in the face to business owners, mom and pop, generational enterprises, to employers, to entities that allow people to put food on their table and to grow and expand and enjoy the fruits of their labor. It's a slap in their face by taking away monies that supports their efforts. Thank you, Mr. Chamber. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor. Any other comments on the substitute motion? All right, let's do Supervisor Hines.
Yeah, if I may. So I guess that was technically before that. Shoot. How does this work? Okay, so I can't talk about diversifying funds for chambers. I have to talk about just the substitute.
We're just talking
which
about the
is-
substitute motion that Supervisor Allen made that was seconded by Supervisor Kano.
Let's see. All right. Okay, got it. So I do support continued county funding for the Chamber of Southern Arizona. As to the level, I think that's something that we can definitely take up. I think right this very second is not great just because of the recent merger and we're kind of into this, cycle now. I think that it makes more sense to do that for the next budget cycle. But I would like to have increased transparency as to various activities that they're doing and how those are generating economic activity, more regular reporting of kind of just how the county's investment is, bearing fruit, so to speak. I know we've had that conversation in previous boards as well. So I would appreciate that. I don't, I do think it makes sense for us to look at these specific amounts and kind of how we're allocating things, but to deviate from the county administrator's recommendation now, I think it's just a little bit too last minute. Not that I don't support looking at this in the future, but at the moment, I do want to just stick with the recommendation of the county administrator.
Thank you, Supervisor Hines. Supervisor Allen.
I don't think that $300,000 being allocated to the chamber is a face slap. I think it is a very significant investment. But furthermore, that's what the proposal is, to fund $300,000 to the chamber. $250,000 of an increase to our own economic development department. Right? That is supporting and bolstering economic development and supporting business that is around in the greater Tucson area. I think we need to think about, and this is part of the problematic, I think, nature of the relationship, is that we also have to think about other chambers. It opens it up. I have heard from other chambers that have said, in addition to, aside from today, that have asked about what the contribution would be now to them as well. So I think that is a reality. I just also have to, because I have heard this before, so I've worked for 30 years for nonprofit organizations, which just because there is not a profit tied to it does not mean that I do not know what it is to be responsible for hundreds of employees and covering their payroll and their health insurance and ensuring that we are meeting the needs that the organization goes to serve and the people, and being responsible and accountable to boards of directors. And those end up being experiences that have enabled me to connect with and support small business. They are not two separate worlds. So there is tremendous support, I think, on this board, including for myself, for the small business community across Southern Arizona. And it's based on my own experience, but it's also based on experience for the value that they bring and contribute to everyday families and the vision of where we live. So I can't let that, sort of sit and hover without responding to it. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Kano.
Thank you, Chair Scott. Since we are in the middle of voting on the substitute motion, I just wanted a parliamentary process inquiry. Are we going to be voting on this and then hear from our chamber representatives after this particular substitute motion? Where would you like to see them speak?
I was not going to call on Mr. Snell or Mr. McCusker unless board members had questions for them. So they're here for the same reason that Mr. Councilmember Perez was here.
Got it. So Chair Scott, would you prefer to have them come up now or in the next?
That's it. Thank you for the question. If your question for them is related to the substitute motion, then we'd have them come up now. If you have a question for them that is related to the original motion, then we'd have them come up later.
Okay. I think they're interlinked. So if you're okay with it, Chair Scott, I'm going to proceed with asking President Snell
Absolutely.
to come join us.
Mr. Snell, Mr. McCusker, if you could come forward, we'd appreciate it. And you could also, if you wanted to, Supervisor Kano or any of my colleagues, direct questions to Mr. Vescovi-Chiordi or Mr. DeBonis or Ms. Lesher if you had questions for staff.
Thank you so much, Chair Scott and President Snell. I'm really grateful that you're here and, of course, have deep respect for Mr. McCusker, whose community engagement I value dearly. President Snell, Pima County, you mentioned this at our last meeting, represents about 1/7 of the chamber's budget. I don't know if that's an accurate number. I'm curious, what is the chamber's plan in this new merged organization that you have to treat this investment as more than a passive contribution and as a public partnership that demands public benefit?
Supervisor Scott, members of the board, thank you for your time today and your consideration. Supervisor Kano, I think I understand your question. If I don't, please redirect. But we take it more than a passive. It's not a donation, and it's not a passive investment for us. It is, we sign a contract with you. We have to provide a scope of services on that contract. So for us, it's a very important contract that we need to provide returns to you on. So it's not a contribution or something like that. It is very much so has metrics that we have to adhere by. And those are negotiated back and forth every year. I hope that answers it.
It does, and I think I have 2 or 3 more questions, Chair Scott. Thank you. Q1, you reported 23 jobs. Q2, you reported 0. Q3, you reported 0 jobs created. And in Q4, there was an uptick. You had a lot more numbers, and I want to thank you for ensuring that public dollars are going where they need to go. What happened in Q2 and Q3 with the job performance numbers coming to the board at 0? If I were in the private sector, I'd probably be fired.
Supervisor Scott, members of the board, what happened, the job creation is not linear. It doesn't fit equally in quarters. We had a national election and frankly, a major disruption with tariffs and stuff. And it caused a disruption in the number of companies that we thought would land when they landed. So very common. We can see deals that can take 3 to 5 years. The deal that you looked at last time, Project Blue, we've been dealing with for almost 3.5 years. So they do take a long, so there's no way to predict exactly when those happen. I'd like to spread them out equally, but it doesn't work that way. And I think this year in particular was a little extraordinary. Again, presidential elections disrupt. Businesses don't like unpredictability. They absolutely do not. They want predictability. But so between any presidential election and this one was a little different. It was a controversial. And then the tariffs coming in did throw businesses. It made a pause happen for them. So when they were thinking about investment, they paused that a little bit. And I still think there's some of that going on.
Thank you, Chair Scott. One of my other questions is what role does the chamber see itself playing in advancing the Prosperity Initiative? That actually is not just a county document, that is a document that the entire region has embraced. And I'm curious, when you are recruiting and retaining major employers, how you are talking about our incredible need to reduce poverty in our region. And I am thankful that the county administrator has ensured that in this new contract, there are some metrics tied to how you are going to be embracing the Prosperity Initiative. But I'm worried that perhaps the spirit of that has not made it into the boardroom.
I'll let Joe answer that. A couple of quick comments as to this money, how it's different than investments in other chamber, and the 20-year history that this appropriation has with the county. These are attraction dollars. We use them exclusively to cater to, market to, host, publish in their newsletters, site selectors and companies that are looking at coming to Tucson. It's been the historical nature of these dollars seriously for the last 20 years. They're earmarked to that marketing effort. They're in our budget. The treasurer are now responsible for that budget as marketing dollars. So if you reduce it, the only thing it's going to affect is our ability to market outside of the region to people that are looking to come into Tucson. I share Supervisor Allen's passion about small business. Rio Nuevo is all about enabling small business. But that's not the conversation about this appropriation. This money goes entirely to, I don't know that the chamber's done a good job being accountable to you for these dollars. And we can change that so you can see exactly where they go. But where they're budgeted to go and where they're earmarked to go, Supervisor Cano, is into the attraction side of what we do, the Sun Corridor side of what we do. Chambers don't interact with site selectors. We are the site selector receiving agency and have been for Tucson. I think the merger has confused that element of what Sun Corridor does, because we've combined the history of the small business chamber, as Supervisor Christie identified, with this attraction organization that for years has brought companies to this region that understand our values, our mission, and our economy. Caterpillar, Amazon, Hexagon, Home 2 Goods, Target, and on and on and on. We promote our values when we are first introduced to these companies. One way that we do that is that any inbound CEO sits down with at least a dozen of us in their introductory dinner. And it's the CEOs of companies in our region talking about the value and virtues of our region, from affordability to weather, to accessibility, to nearness to the border, to things that we need them to embrace. Our conversations with the Caterpillar Foundation were significant as part of the recruitment of Caterpillar to Tucson. They invest in things that matter to us. And I think that's the point of this. And to Supervisor Hines, if there are issues with this, we've budgeted for this appropriation. If we lose it, we've got to go back to our budget. If there are issues with us in the next year, or if you're unhappy with the accountability that we have, we can address that. But I think it's important that you understand these are attraction dollars. They're not earmarked to help small business. It's not a chamber dues. It's specific to our marketing efforts outside of the region.
Thank you so much, Chair Scott and Mr. McCusker. Can you tell us a bit more, Mr. McCusker, in your role as treasurer, what the neighboring jurisdictions are pitching into the new chamber for Southern Arizona in terms of contributions? The only one I'm aware of is the city of Tucson at $50,000.
This is the only government entity that contributes anything at this scale. There are other jurisdictions that pay chamber dues, but again, we're not responsible to them for attraction. We view your role regionally as the organization that is not parochial when it comes to attracting a company. if we have a contract with the city of Tucson to attract a company, they're only interested in attracting that company into their city limits. So it creates a conflict with the county and with other jurisdictions. So we have always looked to the county as the primary funder of our attraction dollars, because you do represent the entire region. This has been much higher historically. It was 650 2 years ago. It was dropped to 550 last year. But again, it's used to promote the region, not any one jurisdiction within the region.
Supervisor Kano, any other questions? Supervisor Christie.
Thank you, gentlemen, both of you, for being here to talk on this issue. You mentioned, Mr. McCusker, that the funding has already been cut from Pima County to Sun Corridor. And that amount was how much and when?
Chairman Scott, Supervisor Christie, a year ago, our allocation from the county was 650. So it was reduced to 550 in the last
So it's already been
contract.
reduced to $100,000 since a year ago.
Yes.
Mr. Chair and gentlemen, whoever or both of you to respond, when you're out doing the function of your mission of trying to attract and bring new industry and businesses into Pima County, trying to grow jobs, trying to have a better quality of life for our populace in the terms of gainful employment. What is the opinion that you run into with many corporations, many site selectors, many industries who may be considering moving here? What do they say as far as the opinion they hold of Pima County as far as bringing business into Pima County?
We can share that survey with you. And there are parts of it that are very flattering. The least flattering part of that is that our region, the city, the county particularly, are not pro-business. And we have to change their opinion, Steve. And that's part of why we bring them to town. I don't think there's been a deal that any of us have participated that we don't ask them to come visit us, see for yourself the values. And to tie in to my friend Mr. Ortega's comments, the other issue we hear far too often is, what's the deal with your roads? We had 6 site selectors come to town a year ago. Most of them hadn't been here ever, or those that hadn't been here for 10 years. We had them stay downtown. We toured them of everything within the region. We held a webinar at the Fox Theater, and we went down the line and asked them their views of Tucson. The first question was, what stood out most to you about your visit to Tucson, Arizona? 5 of them said, your new downtown. The 6th said Pima Community College, workforce development, talent. If Joe said it once, he said it 1,000 times. Talent attracts all jobs. Companies come here for talent. And you're beginning to see us now. You may or may not know this statistic, but a year ago, Tucson was ranked above Austin in terms of new tech jobs. We're finally on the map for some of these companies, but it takes some effort on our parts, Mr. Supervisor, to convince them that Tucson is indeed pro-business. And a lot of it goes to exactly what we try to represent, the economic value of what they bring, but also the unique culture of this region and how we really want a company that's going to fit in here. There are a lot of companies that don't get invited to those dinners.
Mr. Chair, one final question.
Please.
Would the impression be in the community that you are articulating, and as well as trying to attract to come here, what would the opinion of them be, or how would it look if they were to learn that another $100,000 or $200,000 was cut by this Board of Supervisors to your operations? How would that play?
I'm a volunteer treasurer, so they can't fire me. It's the optics that we are concerned about. It's the messaging behind that as much as it is the money, but it goes to, the level of support that outsiders see from our government entities. Because it would be a cut, it does speak to your point that it appears to be less supportive than we would otherwise like.
Let me just add, Fletcher did a great job capturing that. One of the challenges is we are perceived, a lot of times it's not being business positive when our friends up the road in Phoenix are. The other thing is a lot of questions come back. Are we able to solve our issues regionally? Do we work cooperatively? I think that would speak to our inability to work together among the private, the academic, the government sectors. I think that could hurt us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Supervisor. And I just want to point out for clarification that when the board voted last year to reduce our allocation from $650,000 to $550,000, that was a unanimous vote and that it was based on the recommendation from the county administrator. It was, Supervisor. We voted 5-0 for $550,000 last year. Yes, sir. We did. So the county administrator made the recommendation. She made recommendations to cuts not only to Sun Corridor, but also to Job Path and to a couple of other entities. And when we voted on the Sun Corridor recommendation, we voted 5-0. But let's move now to a vote on the substitute motion, and let's do a roll call on that.
Supervisor Allen.
Yes.
Supervisor Cano.
Yes.
Supervisor Christie.
No.
Supervisor Hines.
No.
Chair Scott.
No. Okay, substitute motion is defeated by a vote of 3-2 with Supervisors Allen and Cano voting in favor. Let's move now back to the original motion, which is to approve the recommendation for $550,000. Supervisor Cano.
Thank you, Chair Scott. I want to offer some comments to both the county administration and to the chamber leadership. It is important to me when a $500,000 contract is on the board agenda and when we are 1/7 of a private entity's budget, for there to be some public accountability and for us to be asking ourselves as a jurisdiction what we are going to do to support greater investment in this region. It is a new chapter for the board. I look forward as a county supervisor to figure out how we can work together to bring more employers to the region. And I want us to figure out how we can continue to ensure that the Prosperity Initiative and our work to attract major and large employers to our region will produce benefits. I believe that this contract amount has ebbed and flowed over many budget cycles with no clear stipulations about the return on investment for taxpayers. I am going to be supporting this contract today because I have been asked by key leaders in this community to give this new entity a chance. Your treasurer is sitting right next to you, President Snell, and I trust in his understanding of this public-private partnership that is critical. And you do need advocates on this dais advocating for you. In that same breath, the county administrator needs to look within so that we can ensure that our economic development teams have the resources to grow as a region and to have Pima County leading the way, not outsourcing our economic development to a third party that has very little accountability to our region from a financial standpoint. And I take great issue with this new entity continuing to expect a $500,000 buyout and still criticize local government in the same breath, hampering our ability to go forward with any proposal to the taxpayers moving forward. Again, it's a new entity. So I'm going to hold my breath and hope that after this discussion and 2 meetings, we might be able to have some more clarity about what the chamber is producing for taxpayers. If in 2 quarters, I submitted a report to the board that said that 0 jobs were created directly or indirectly. That is not just a point for pause. It's a point for us to ask, is this amount where it needs to be? Should we be doing more? Should we be doing less? And I think these are all good questions. And in the spirit of honoring the county administrator's recommendation and the spirit of providing an opportunity for the chamber to prove us wrong. I mean, President Snell, I'm asking this rhetorically. Has the chamber board had an in-depth presentation on the Prosperity Initiative? And if not, is that something that we can work with our liaison through the chair of the board to be able to really figure out in depth how we are going to put some movement into this contract? Those are the questions that I'm thinking. And it's not easy for me to be listening to the tremendous need in our community. One organization getting the whole pie, and our other important organizations, other chambers, other entities who are committed to the same mission, not be at the decision-making table. So I'm going to take a giant leap of faith as a new county supervisor to say, let's do better together and let's stay focused on how we can make our region the best place to live and to work.
Thank you, Supervisor. Any other comments or questions on the original motion, Supervisor Allen and then Supervisor Hines?
So I would like to make an amendment to Supervisor Scott's motion by removing the words "if releasable." Again, from sections 1.1, 1.2, and 3.2 of the reporting section. And I do that so that we are always ensuring that there is a flow of information between what the chamber is doing and negotiating that is pertinent to us, and that be it our economic development department or the board, knows what is being negotiated, knows what is happening. I think we are seeing and continue to see and will see the fallout of the NDA and Project Blue as it's related to our decision. And so the not sharing of information with us and having that in the contract, I think is just problematic. And we have heard from our constituents that it's not acceptable. So I want to make sure that the information is still communicated to the proper Pima County entities or individuals. So that is my amendment.
Chair Scott, may I ask a clarification?
You may.
Okay. This is to release information not publicly, but to our offices and to the county administrator and her staff, correct?
It is, yes.
I will second that.
And just to be clear, what Supervisor Allen's amendment is referring to is on Exhibit A of the contract under reporting. That's correct, isn't it, Supervisor?
Yep.
Because if you look at 1.1, which is reporting per occurrence, it says if releasable, and then it's also under which other one, Supervisor, please?
1.1, 1.2, and 3.2.
Okay. All right. Now, my understanding is that the reason that is in parentheses is because of non-disclosure agreements that might have been entered into not by the jurisdiction, but by the Chamber of Southern Arizona. Is that correct, Ms. Lesher? Okay.
Chair Scott, that would be my interpretation, but I'm not sure. I think we'd have to ask the entity.
Okay. Let Mr. Snell and Mr. McCusker, what Supervisor Allen is referring to is if you look at Exhibit A of the contract under reporting, there is in parentheses the two words if releasable with regard to per occurrence reporting. And then also under is it monthly? I'm sorry, quarterly? Is that right? Yeah. So it's under the per occurrence reporting 1.1 and 1.2 and the quarterly reporting 3.2. The in parentheses, if releasable. I said that I thought that that might be referring to non-disclosure agreements that the chamber has signed. Mr. Brown thinks that that's likely accurate, but if you can clarify that for us.
That's likely because we share all the companies we're working with the county when we meet with them. If we are bound by a non-disclosure as the Chamber of Southern Arizona, and they ask us not to share that, we will not share that.
Okay, that was my suspicion, and I'm not going to be able to support the amendment because there's a difference between non-disclosure agreements that county staff enter into on behalf of the county and non-disclosure agreements that the chamber, more specifically to your point, Mr. McCusker, the site selector side, the traditional Sun Quarter side enter into. So I would not be able to support the amendment.
The other issue, Chairman Scott, is that we're not allowed to disclose the name of the target. And we couldn't do that to staff any more than we could do it to the board.
Thank you.
If they know it, it's discoverable. It's in the public domain and subject to freedom of information requests. That's the very reason that site selectors want to be under an NDA so that it's not public until they're prepared for it to go public. And if we didn't sign those, the deal would never get to first base.
And that's less in terms of keeping information from staff, as you said, or certainly from decision makers. It's more to keep information from competitors.
It is, Supervisor Scott and members of the board. If there's any incentive or a property sale that comes in front of the county, that'll still need to be disclosed at some point.
Right.
And it's not just site selectors. Let me be very candid. It's companies that are local that are expanding. They might be looking, and we could be dealing with a local hospital that is looking at an expansion, for example. Well, they don't want the competitors knowing what they're working on until they're ready for that. And it might have nothing to do. They might not be coming in front of a governing board asking for any incentives, any approvals, because they might not need them. So we're going to protect them.
Well, I appreciate that the amendment, the motion to amend was seconded so that we could discuss it. I'd encourage my colleagues not to support it for the reasons cited. So unless there's further discussion on the amendment, let's move to a vote and let's do a roll call vote.
Chair Scott, this is a roll call vote on the amendment.
Yes, to remove the two words, if releasable, in parentheses from Exhibit A, 1.1, 1.2, and 3.2.
Okay.
Those were the three sections, wasn't it, Supervisor?
Yep. Supervisor Allen.
Yes.
Supervisor Cano.
Yes.
Supervisor Christie.
No.
Supervisor Hines.
No.
Chair Scott.
No. All right, the amendment is defeated with Supervisors Allen and Cano voting in favor. Let's now go back to the original motion, which is to approve the recommendation for the contract for $550,000. Any further questions or comments from supervisors? Okay, I want to ask you to stay on Exhibit A. And I appreciate that this contract is not presented to us by the Chamber of Southern Arizona, that this contract was negotiated between representatives of the Chamber of Southern Arizona and representatives from the county. And I want to thank Ms. Lesher, Mr. Cabonis, Mr. Vescovi-Chiordi for their work on behalf of the county in terms of negotiating this item. And if you look at the cover memo of June 27th that Ms. Lesher gave us with this contract attached, she listed some highlights in bulleted format. And one of those highlights was that the contract, quote, clarifies the focus of supporting the region including Pima County and the local cities and towns. And with regard to that, I want to draw your attention to Exhibit A and look at item number 3, which says support Pima County's economic development strategy 2023-2026 and provide assistance to the region with the implementation of areas of the plan. And I won't read the rest of it. And you'll see that the economic development strategic plan is attached to this item. Now I want you to look at item number 7, and this might be of particular interest to Supervisor Cano based on the request he made of administration after call to the public, and also to Dr. Bowles, and thank you for staying, Dr. Bowles, with regard to her role as a member of the Vail Chamber. Number 7 in Exhibit A says, work with other corporations, agencies, or entities that are involved in economic development activities. More specifically, collaborate with regional partners that support the economic development mission of Pima County and the Chamber of Southern Arizona. I take that to mean the regional chambers, such as the one that Dr. Bowles represents. I take that to mean the Hispanic Chamber of Southern Arizona. I take that to mean the Southern Arizona Leadership Council. And I am pleased that the county, when it was negotiating this contract, put that item in there. So what I would like to ask, and I've already communicated this to Ms. Lesher, Mr. DeBonis, and Mr. Vescovi-Chiordi, is that in the monthly coordination meetings, which are also described in Exhibit A, that those 2 items, item 3 and item 7, be standing agenda items, so that we know as a board that supported that economic development strategic plan, how it is being focused on through the work of the chamber, and so that we can hear some of the outreach that you all are doing to the other regional economic partners. And I have heard from you, Mr. Snell, and also from Mr. Guyman about the work that you intend to be doing with our other local economic partners. I just would like that to be a more regular focus in these monthly coordination meetings. All right. Yes, Supervisor Cano.
Thank you, Chair Scott. I appreciate you giving the county administrator a little bit more direction on, and our economic development staff some guidance on that. Administrator Lesher, you've heard a lot today about this contract, and we've talked about it. I'm curious, you're going to be coming back to the board with some additional information about ways to ensure that we are being a strong regional partner on economic development. I'm just curious if you can give us some takeaways from today's conversation, please.
Thank you.
Ms. Lesher.
Thank you, Chair Scott, Supervisor Cano, and members of the board. What I've heard is that we are continuing to support an organization recognizing it is going through change. And that while we are looking at all of the ways in which we evaluate and collaborate with and report on the activities of what has historically been Sun Corridor, it is now including that chamber element, and it has not done that before. So that we need to look and ensure that all of our chambers are reflected in reports. I see a distinction sometimes between chambers and economic development organizations is the difference in business attraction and business retention. And that we will continue any efforts to monitor all the work being done to retain our businesses, particularly our smaller businesses in the community. As we look at the attractions component, it's when we need to continue to ensure that our economic development team is embedded, that we're getting the information, and that we're getting real numbers back to the board to evaluate the success of that organization. So I think what I'm hearing from the board is we're in on the new experiment, and now let's see how this works as the year breaks out, of how the economic development, how that attraction is continuing to work, and that we are working as a region to ensure that all of the various jurisdictions and communities can take advantage of the lead opportunities, can be part of looking at ways in which businesses might be located in all the different jurisdictions in the region, and that we're looking to continue to monitor the work with all of the chambers.
Mr. Chair,
Supervisor Christie.
I want to request a clarification and a correction of the record. Our staff did some background. On May 7th of 2024, I voted against reducing the contract. on July 2nd, 2024, I voted to approve the contract. So this should be corrected and clarified.
Supervisor, I apologize. Thank you for that clarification. I was only thinking about the vote on the final approval, and I apologize that I mischaracterized your position.
Appreciate the apology. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we vote?
We can.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry, but Supervisor Allen wanted to make another quick comment.
So I just have to emphasize though that it is a misnomer to think that a community is not business friendly if it is also a community that works to raise the per capita wages, that works to ensure that our long-term health and sustainability is one that benefits all of us, and that there is long-term thinking. These things, I just want to make sure that as you all are evolving this organization to do both retention and attraction, but that underneath that is still this commitment to who we are, which is not who we are, who they are up the road, that we are different. Indeed, we are. And that we should be proud of that difference. And that difference is what makes locating and staying in Pima County unique and important. And that is great, right? It is, I take the position because of my love for our community and our love for bringing business here and for supporting small business because of the uniqueness of who we are. And that in and of itself is incredibly important. And that is the thing that I hope that we are pitching out to business and industry. So I just had to emphasize that bit about, I hope folks are also taking from this conversation.
Can't we be just a little bit like the place up the road, just a little bit?
The final comment that I'll make is I appreciate that Supervisor Cano has indicated that he's going to support the contract and that he expects staff to follow up on the direction that is given to them through the contract. Please hold me accountable as well. I am going to be our representative, not just to the board of directors, but to the executive committee of that board of directors. I'm going to be the representative to our economic development council, the Public Policy Council. I'm probably leaving out a council, Mr. Snell, but hold me accountable as well and share your comments with me as colleagues. All right, let's move to a roll call vote on approval of the recommendation.
Supervisor Allen,
Yes.
Supervisor Gano,
Yes.
Supervisor Christie,
Yes.
Supervisor Hines,
How is this unanimous? Yes.
Chair Scott.
Yes. Item passes 5-0. I thank my colleagues for the dialogue. I thank Mr. Snell and Mr. McCusker for being here and sharing their input. And I thank Ms. Lesher, Mr. DeBonis, and Mr. Vescovi-Chiordi, who I think we've made late for his next appointment. All right. Okay. Because I promised Mr. Collins that we would do this, and I'm going to try to be a man of my word, Mr. Collins, as long as we know each other. Let's move to addendum item number 6. And Mr. Brown, I gather that won't have any issue with regard to our time certain for executive session. That's a very lawyerly response. I like it. All right.
Good afternoon.
Okay, very good. Where we are, I'm sorry, Supervisor, we are on addendum item number 6. This is a hearing on, it's under procurement, solicitation number IFB-2500009743, paint and paint supplies appeal of procurement director's decision. And Wendy Kim who is the person appealing the decision. She is on remotely to answer any questions that the board may have. At this point, I'll turn it over to Ms. Lesher, and if she wants to make any introductory remarks, or turn it over to Mr. Collins.
Thank you very much, Chair Scott. And I will ask our procurement director, Mr. Collins, to summarize for you what you have before you today.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Scott and members of the board. Just for some background information, regarding this appeal. The solicitation was issued in May 19th. The bid opened on June 18th. We had 2 responses. The responses were from Sherman-Williams and Pittsburgh Paint Company, doing business as PPG. The initial recommendation was to award the contract to Sherman-Williams. This was a low bid solicitation, so the basis of award is to award it to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. The notice